Hey, Paul, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom, can I just add, for the edification of the audience, the other issue with government shutdown has to do with the one we're in now. With the fiscal year comes, we got the debt ceiling thing passed, but the fiscal year ends on September 30th, and it was because of the Congressional Budget Act, Congressional Budget and Impoundment Act of 1974 that was interpreted, I believe, by Jimmy Carter's Secretary of Treasury, that the government, if we don't have a budget or a appropriations made by October 1st, the government is technically out of money. And so that came off because that's what the Congressional Budget and Impoundment Act, which was passed oddly by Richard Nixon, signed it 3 weeks before he resigned, and that came on the heels of one of the things that Donald Trump wanted to do. Was Richard Nixon did not like the appropriations that the Democratic Congress made, and so he would just take them. And this is why Donald Trump was impeached for the first time. It's not what he said to Zelensky about find me dirt on Joe Biden. It was because he took money from the Congress for Ukraine and didn't spend it within the 45-day appropriation period, and he didn't apply for an extension, and he didn't give it back. He pocketed it, essentially, and used it as a cudgel over Ukraine. So he was in violation of that law, and because the law doesn't prescribe any penalties, and the president can't be penalized anyway, the only option was to impeach him. But that was the other thing about that.
Interesting.
But on to your opening topic, the United States is way overrated and highly overrated and way overpriced. Yeah. I mean, that's just and let's just examine. Do we really have? And the reason is we're way overrated is essentially because we're way overpriced, and this all came from the Reagan era, because we have this giant class of billionaires, and we don't really have a free market anymore. We have markets run by crime bosses, and I mean, you look at any industry, deregulation has led to like the airline industry, the telecommunication industry. We don't have choices. We are basically paying to colluders. It's collusion in every industry. Isn't that true?
Yeah, it's monopoly. That's why I'm syndicating my Monopoly book this year.
So we just keep having to pay higher and higher prices for everything, including health care. And it's just, when that happens, when you're paying such high premiums on even necessities, the quality of life is not, and the degree of happiness in the United States, other people around the world are much happier. And, you know, like Aristotle said, unlimited choices and unlimited wealth is not necessary for liberty. It's just not, those aren't necessary. But we are convinced that we need to have every kind of choice and as much money as we can possibly get. And yeah, it's overrated. And let me ask you this. Do we really have that much more freedom with our Constitution than do other countries, other Western democracies think that, oh, boy, we wish we had the freedoms that the United States have, like freedom to be shot and stuff like that? Right. You remember Roosevelt's 4 freedoms? Freedom of expression, freedom of worship, freedom from want, and freedom from fear. Right. Well, I think we've got plenty of want and plenty of fear in this country, not the least of which is due to one of our great rights, the Second Amendment. And that's what has stolen our quality of life and made our country highly overrated and way overpriced since the Reagan era.
Yeah, no, I get it. We have the freedom to be shot. We have the freedom to go bankrupt if somebody in our family gets sick. We have the freedom to graduate college with $100,000 in debt. I mean, it's like, really? Good points, Paul.
Look at this.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the Congress, it says in Article 1, Section 8, the Congress manages or regulates rules for bankruptcy, and yet one of the things they did was in the 90s, they made it that you could not declare bankruptcy for student loans, and I don't think
that was in 2005.
Can't declare bankruptcy for medical debts either.
Yep. Oh, I didn't know about the medical debt. I thought you could declare bankruptcy for medical debt. But I know the student loan one because I got in a debate with Debbie Stabenow about it on this program in 2005. She was one of the advocates for that banking reform legislation.
Well, the fact that you can go into bankruptcy from medical debt is we shouldn't be having that conversation either.
No, it's 500,000 Americans every year go bankrupt because of medical debt, and that's that is a crime. It's a crime against humanity. Paul, thank you. Right. Well said as always. It's 44 minutes past the hour. It's the Thom Hartmann Program, speaking the truth to the multinational corporations who run these monopolies would really rather you didn't know all about.